Plaintiff Donna Stark dated the defendant for nearly 20 years, and they lived together along with her children. Donna claims after her son committed suicide, her life was turned upside down, and the defendant ended up leaving her. She's suing her ex for breach of contract and attorney fees. Defendant Brian Dahl says he and Donna made a beautiful home together, but after Donna's son passed away, she completely changed. Brian claims he tried to go to grief counseling with Donna to make the relationship work, but it never recovered. He's countersuing for equity in a home.
Start with you.
I've been in a long-term relationship with Brian.
How long?
7 months short of 20 years. And it was turning into more of a relationship of financial. I was always supporting him, but I put up with it. And then it came in November of 2006, my only son committed suicide, and I thought Brian would be there for me, and I think he did try, but 2 weeks after my son's funeral, he told me to get over it.
You are arguing or something?
No, well, I'm sure I was a mental basket case during this time, but after he said that, we kind of were already starting to go our own ways. And so in June of 2010, he gave me a Dear Jane letter, and...
Why did he say he was leaving?
Not happy, which I guess I don't blame him. But then 2 days
Why
later...
don't you blame him?
Because that death was really hard on me, Your Honor, and I guess he felt that he lost me, you know, just like I lost him.
He felt he did all he could? That's that kind of...
In his own capacity, yes, I thought that he could give no more. November of 2006, my only son committed suicide, and I thought Brian would be there for me, and I think he did try, but 2 weeks after my son's funeral, he told me to get over it.
Plaintiff Donna Stark dated the defendant for nearly 20 years, but she claims after her son passed away, her life completely changed and their relationship fell apart.
So let me hear a little bit from you.
Me and Donna, we started seeing each other in 90. We moved in 91 into her home. Her and I made it into a real home. 20 years together, we made a beautiful home out of it. Between us, we raised 5 kids. She had 3 and I had 2. They didn't like us together so much, but for the first 10, 12 years, we got along great. We went camping, hiking, to the parks. We did a lot of stuff together. It was awesome. And at that point, yeah, we were building my business, and she did help me financially a lot. It was a tremendous boost, and it's still going today, a lot to her credit. After her son died, yeah, we stayed together for 4 more years.
Did you tell her to get over it?
In the heat of an argument, I believe I did. I will admit that. Yes, I told her you got to move on, and it was way early,
different.
and that was bad.
Different. Get over it is a lot different than baby. You got to move on.
Yeah,
That's big difference.
There was some heated arguments, and unfortunately that came out, and so did a death threat from her to me. So
yeah,
it wasn't good.
Well, what you expect after that? Yeah, you better be glad it was just a threat.
So yeah, never carried out. I'm still here. So yeah, around the end of May of 2010, I went to her and we sat down and talked, and I told her it was done.
What do you think the root cause of the separation was? Their son, his suicide?
Definitely had a major impact. She was never the same person since then, which her kids were her life. I understood it completely. Maybe not right away, but I did understand.
What type of reaction was she having? What type of change did you observe in her behavior, in her attitude, and her as a person?
Very withdrawn. Socially, she was the outgoing one when we met, and after that, she wanted nothing to do with anything, anybody. When there was something to do, she didn't want to go. She didn't want to
participate.
Did
you suggest grief counseling?
Oh, she went. She went, and I went to a few sessions, not a lot, but
you didn't see much progress from that?
During those first few years, no.
Wow. Yeah, I would imagine, and I'm told that that's the worst experience that anyone could have, is to lose your child. The worst, the very worst. And so I can understand. And that's why it's so hurtful, so very hurtful to see all these mothers losing their children to gun violence. That is just so hurtful. When I hear about it, it hurts me. I imagine if I had lost one of my children, the mothers that I know from back in the old neighborhoods that I've lived in, they either become alcoholics for the most part, they become drug addicts, many of them. I had one woman, I was doing a candlelight vigil for kids that had been murdered in Memphis. And the woman came up to me, clearly alcohol and or drug addicted, I believe both. And she just started crying and she hugged me and she thanked me and she said she had lost all 4 of her sons to gun violence. All 4 had been murdered. So I can understand the loss and the devastation. I've seen it so much. And I'm sorry to hear that happen.
Thank you, Your Honor.
But what happened here with the contract that you're suing him about? What happened? Okay,
with the contract, so when he gave me the Dear Jane letter, cried for a couple of weeks, and then he owed me money, and he'd been using 2 of my credit cards solely for his business. So I made him sign 3 agreements, 1 for the money and 2 for the credit cards. He paid me the money. He paid off 1 of the credit cards, but when it came to the last credit card, it was a large amount, that he couldn't pay off, so he was making payments on it.
How much was it?
Oh, it was $27,500.
How much were the other ones?
I don't know, one was $5,000, and he owed me 10 grand.
How did he get all this money out of you? Where you get all this money from?
I had a really good job.
She's not going to get out of here single tonight, I'll tell you that.
That's right. That's right. If you got any more
I have the really good job. I'm so sorry.
Plaintiff Donna Stark dated the defendant for nearly 20 years, but she claims after her son passed away, her life completely changed and their relationship fell apart.
So he owed you $27,000 when he gave you the Dear Jane letter.
Yep.
Okay, and he agreed to repay you.
Well, he agreed to keep making the payments to the credit card company.
He did not?
Well, as long as I was getting the bills sent to my house in Wisconsin, he was living in Minnesota, so I'd fax him the bills. Well, then he was making his payments every month, yay. And so because he had paid off the other 2 agreements, I thought, okay, make it easier on him. I'll just have the credit card company send him the bills directly to his house so he doesn't have to say, oh, I was late. I made a late payment because you got it to me late or whatever. Well, as soon as they started sending him the bills, well, he made a few more payments and then he just stopped. He stopped making payments, and of course, the credit card company didn't get a hold of me until like 3 months later. And then pretty soon I was just dealing with the collections department, and so I had to go seek a lawyer and see what I could do about this. And at first we were going to take him to civil court for the $27,500, but just before the court date, I had been talking to the collections people, and I talked them into doing where Brian pays $8,300 out of this $27,000, and they would be okay with that, but they'd send me a 1099-C for the remainder, which was almost $20,000.
Oh, they reduced their debt from 27 to 8.
Yep.
Wow.
My wife needs that deal.
Yeah. So anyway, I thought that was a great deal for him. So after we canceled the civil court thing, he signed another agreement, which I have right here, saying that he would take care of the tax liability of what, the difference.
This one I was forced into signing. I didn't want to sign this one, Your Honor. She wouldn't drop the $27,000 lawsuit unless I signed this paper.
How much is this, ma'am?
Uh,
Breach of contract was $2,000. You went from $27,000 to $2,000, and you're protesting that?
Yes, sir. And I'm not protesting that settlement. I paid it. It was all done right on the spot. And then she forced me to sign that paper, or she wouldn't drop the $27,000. She was going to continue
So
the
she
lawsuit.
wasn't due this money?
She didn't have to pay that $2,000 though.
Ma'am, what's your attorney fees for? $14.49. You had to hire an attorney for these things?
Yes, I did.
All right. Counterclaim served for $5,000 for equity in a home. How does she owe you?
20 years together. When I moved in, they had a garbage route. There was 2 acres of nothing but garbage. Inside, outside, in the yard, laying everywhere. Over the 20 years that we were together, we cleaned it all up. We moved out the garbage business. We finished off the house. We remodeled it. We made it a park-like setting. It was beautiful. And it went from $35,000 that we paid for the home to over $240,000 when I finally moved out. And the judge says, you're not married, you have to leave. I think it's a small thing that I'm asking for. I put a lot of effort, time, and money into the home and the relationship.
Totally true, Your Honor.
What part is it?
Well, when he first moved in, he had just lost his job and he was deep in debt.
Yeah, but 20 years, ma'am, he put something into that house.
Well, I know, but over the years, I've had him sign several waivers to where he waives any claim on my house.
See it, man. Let's see it,
And I
man.
have it to my tax papers saying that the house has always just been in my name.
Why didn't you marry her, sir?
Well,
I had lived in that house since 1975.
Brian Dahl agrees that he waives any claim that he has now or in the future on the real estate and house located at, I'm not going to give the address, men to be lined up outside your door. The way you giving away money.
Plaintiff Donna Stark dated the defendant for nearly 20 years, but she claims after her son passed away, her life completely changed and their relationship fell apart.
Sir,
yes,
why did you do this? She forced you to do this too?
probably. She borrowed me money. She makes me sign off on that.
And there was obvious reasons why I had to stick that stuff into my agreements. You know, who does that? Well, that's because in 1998, he bought a duplex in Forest Lake, and he used my house as collateral
Did not.
Without your
Never.
permission.
without my permission.
No,
Please, no
never
wonder she
happened.
had you
That's
sign all
that's an
this
outright
stuff.
lie.
Yeah. Why did she make this up?
My name wasn't on the house. There was no way I
We're
could.
talking about this, where you signed your waiver. For money you're gonna come in here and ask for now. And the other judge had already told you no. I'm telling you no, just like the other judge told you. You're getting no's from all judges. Judge me for the plaintiff, $3,532. He signed a note to repay you. Have a good day. Judge me for the plaintiff. Your claim is dismissed.
She probably still hates me, but hopefully this is it and it's over finally.
I'm just totally relieved. It's like many, many years of this to come to an end, and thank goodness. But just pay me.